It's 9 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started in the interest of time. Before we do, I'd like to go over just a few housekeeping procedures. We are recording this session today, so if you need to refer back to it or want to share it with any of your coworkers that weren't able to join this morning, it will be up on our YouTube channel later this week. If everyone can remain on mute while the presentation is going on, that would be wonderful, so there isn't any background noise. If and when you do have questions, please use the raise hand feature or the chat feature, and I will prompt Kevin and Kelly when appropriate. Video is optional, but if you do happen to ask a question off mute, sometimes it's nice to see your face with the voice. There's one button on the screen I'd like you all to avoid hitting. It's a rectangle with an up arrow at the bottom of your screen. It's your share screen button. Please do not click that, as that will interrupt the presentation. If there's any technical issues, please put those into the chat and I'll do my best to help you through those. Just be aware that most of the time issues stem from your own Wi-Fi connections. If anyone is dialed in via telephone today, please send me an email at mfrey@pjhq.com so we can get your PDR credits assigned to you. And before I hand it over to our presenters today, I'd like to introduce them. So at the PGA annual meeting this past year, Kelly and Kevin presented this topic in a breakout session, and it was really well received. So we thought this would be a very unique and kind of fun webinar to host this off season. Kelly Williams is the PGA General Manager of Greenbrier Golf and Country Club in Lexington, Kentucky. He was named the 2024 PGA of America Golf Executive of the Year, an honor recognizing his outstanding service in executive management position, leadership, and contributions to the game. He's been a member of the PGA of America since 2007 and has held various leadership roles within the organization. He is a strong advocate for professional development and mentorship within the PGA. Prior to his current role, Williams served as head golf professional at Greenbrier Golf and Country Club and has been with the club since 1996. Kevin Scott is an experienced AI engineer who currently serves as the Chief Technology Officer and CIO of the PGA of America, a role that he has held since January 2017. In this position, he has led the transformation of the organization's tech, digital product, and IT areas. He has successfully built and launched PGA's first 2 consumer digital products and transformed siloed IT and digital organizations into a customer-centric, product-minded organization. Prior to his role at the PGA of America, Kevin worked at ESPN and Nokia, holding various leadership positions in products, innovations, and advanced digital products. He's led the creation of ESPN's next generation interactive social TV digital products, contemporary project methodologies, and he has served on several boards of technology and philanthropic organizations. Before I send it over to Kelly and Kevin, I just wanted to mention that those bios were written by AI. So I used AI to pull those up, and I hope they were accurate. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Williams and Mr. Scott. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. It's absolutely a pleasure to be in the Philadelphia section virtually this morning with my good friend Kevin here. I'll just kind of lead a little bit more. I don't want to do any more introduction, but so that everybody understands where this session was kind of birthed from. I'm also the education chair of the Kentucky PGA. I've served on that board for 17 years now, I guess, 18 years, something like that. And I just had this idea from connecting with Kevin so many times over the years during my board service that there was an untapped market out there for us to learn more about AI and how we could be using it in our daily lives as PGA members. So I called Kevin. He said, yeah, this sounds great. Let's do it. And I'm a believer that any time we can get one of our chiefs out of the office, so to speak, out of the Frisco daily grind and helping our members with an area where they have expertise, it's going to be a win. And So we've now done this. This will be kind of our third time, if you will. We've done it for 90 minutes. We did about a 25-minute presentation at the annual meeting. So you all are going to get the hour version. So here we go. We'll dive in. We do want this to be interactive. I know Matt said please stay on mute, but please fire your questions off into the chat, and we'll kind of run with it. Kevin, anything that you want to add before we kind of launch into the topics of the day?
No, not really. I would encourage you to ask questions. This is all meant to be not for entertainment. It's meant to be for practical use. And so there's some information that's in these slides. Feel free to jot it down if you want to, sort of as we go, or we will make the material available. But hopefully you get some things you can take away and then put to use and have some fun with, and help you out in the coming months and years. Matt, thanks for the warning about the presentation box at the bottom of the screen. Right next to that one is a little smiley face in Google Meet. That one's totally okay. And so in the spirit of being interactive and helping us know sort of how you guys are feeling and what you're thinking about, feel free to pop that open. Oh, Kelly just mashed on the button. I love it. So send those emojis flying. I'd love to see how you're feeling about things, if things are making sense. On the other side of the rectangle, there's a couple of buttons to the right, is a hand raise icon. It looks just like that. And if you have a question, feel free to hit that, and then it'll ding a little bit, and we'll know to pause and ask you what's up. While I've got the microphone here, Kelly, let me just flip over and make sure that the audio is working on this.
Howdy, can you hear this?
Yeah, we're good.
Great. Let's rock and roll, Kel.
All right. Well, Kevin, we've talked a lot about AI. Is it a buzzword? Because every golf manufacturing company seem to be using it in their descriptions of their new drivers for 2024 and continues in 25. Or do you believe that AI is here to stay?
So pretty much every new technology that comes along will receive some amount of hype, and usually there's a cycle to that. We're very much into it. That said, I don't think that this is, I think that the capabilities that we're getting through this technology are going to be with us for quite a long time. And at the risk of being a little hyperbolic myself, I think that this is going to be the kind of thing that will eventually have implications on our economy and the way that we live our lives. Not necessarily the relatively small tasks that we're going to go through today, but what the capabilities that are building up are going to have really quite profound impact. And the people who are entering the workforce today and tomorrow are going to just lead different careers, and certainly different lives in the ways that compared to what we've had in our lives. So pretty exciting, profound stuff. And even though there is quite a lot of hype around it, I would actually argue that it's just getting started. So as a simple example, during this year, you're probably going to see a human-shaped robot walking around at some point, like during the calendar year. And next year, you're going to see more. And like at some point, that's going to be normal. At some point, you might hire one and put it to work. These things are not going to become less popular unless they take us all over.
Right. Yeah, I got plenty of job openings in my snow-covered parking lot right now for all those AI bots that you're promoting out there. So let's get to it. But I guess the practical use of AI is really why we're all here today, right? And I looked at this presentation the first time we did it as how do we introduce AI? But then the reality became, how do we use AI to create an extra hour or two in our day? I'm always looking for an extra moment to be at home with my family, an extra 2 hours to go play 9 holes, but work always gets in the way. I think that if nobody takes anything else from today, it's that if you dip your toe in, specifically into ChatGPT, Kevin, you'll give us a couple of other examples that are similar. These AI tools exist not to do our jobs for us, but if we prompt them correctly, they will take a task that would normally take a human like me 30, 45 minutes, an hour. I might be a little slow, I don't know, but they'll turn an hour-long task into 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes, and it will be high quality if we coach it correctly. Is that a pretty accurate summary, would you say?
Yeah, pretty much. There's just all kinds of things, and as you start to become more of a collaborator with the technology, I think many people find that it just shifts the way that you think. You can think about having somebody as a good thought partner, a sparring partner, or someone to help generate ideas. You know, we talk about how there's no dumb questions. Well, there's really not in this space, because nobody ever knows that you asked it. And so,
Right.
being able to use that to understand things. I mean, as dumb as I use it quite a lot to help understand vocabulary, or like, am I actually using that idiom correctly? Or like really kind of dumb, embarrassing things. But,
Well, let's get into the Chat GPT specifically, and I know you've got some examples lined up for us. Why don't you kind of go ahead and show some demos? And so that everybody knows, the first time we did this, I kind of did it live on my screen while Kevin talked through, and then Kevin did some. We've recorded these to try to make them a little more direct and efficient. That being said, it'll be on your YouTube channel, it sounds like, so you can pause this and rewind and fast forward and find exactly the way that that's best to use it. So Kevin, I'll turn it over to you. Give us your first example here.
yeah, that sounds good. And by the way, since we're presenting over the internet, I don't know how clearly all the text on these is going to come through. So again, you can watch them later if you want to go into more detail on it. Basically, these are going to go pretty fast. So at this point, you'll be just sort of exposed to the types of things that are easily possible here. But fasten your seatbelt. Here we go.
Write a job description for an assistant golf pro at a daily fee course in Michigan. Now make a scoring rubric that I can use to evaluate all the job applicants. Great. Now, just as an example, make up a fake resume for an inexperienced assistant golf pro. That'll work. Now I want you to score that resume against the rubric that you created a second ago, and be sure to explain each one of your scores.
I just wanted to kind of point out what it did there. And most people would never do that sequence of tasks together. Usually those will be separate. So writing a resume is obviously a task in and of itself. I put that together so that we could basically see it can write a job description, it can write in a resume, it can actually assess the fit between a resume and a job description that you might have, either if you're the one on the job applicant side or in the hiring manager side.
Okay, so we went through that really fast, and I'm sure there are a whole lot of you who've never touched Chat GPT before who are going, what the heck just happened, right? So if you were to go to chatgpt.com, and if you're start to use it a little bit like I do, and you bookmark that on your favorites bar in your Google Chrome browser or whatever browser it is that that you use, you'll find a search bar essentially, and it looks just like you know, all your Google browsers. So what Kevin was doing there was he was talking to it, but you can also type into that search bar and give it the tasks that that you want to take on. And then a beautiful part of that is, and I'm forgive me because I'm peeking over at mine here on the left, my previous 7 days and my previous 30 days searches or prompts, I guess would be the better way to say it, are all lined up over in the left-hand margin of Chat GPT once I've logged in. So I have a history of the work that I've been doing. in summary, Kevin gave it, what was that, 3 or 4 total prompts. Had I had to write all of that, especially starting from scratch, it would have taken, that's probably what, 2 hours worth of content creation.
Maybe.
Again, maybe I'm a little on the slow side. Maybe you could do it in an hour, but suddenly that's an hour that I have to either spend more time with my customers face to face, or spend more time with my family at the house, which is always popular. So you can immediately see the time suck that's eliminated with this technology doing a lot of the work for you. Go ahead, Kevin, with your next example here. I know you've got another one queued up for us.
I work for a golf apparel company. Can you make me some marketing copy for a new golf shirt? It is a performance shirt, but it's actually got a retro look. Let's incorporate that. Great. Now give me 3 names for the shirt.
The classic swing, the vintage
Those are
drive.
pretty good. Give me 50 more.
And just like that, you've got countless lines of copy and information for some golf shirt that you might want to be selling in your golf shop. Clearly, Kevin, next one that you have lined up for us.
Yeah, just before we go to the next one, that last one's not a super exciting example, but what it shows is that with a little, you can shape the responses quite a lot. And so if it takes you in a direction that you're not thrilled with, just tell it that you don't want it to go in that direction, and steer it differently. If you want ideas, just ask it for more, and then more, and then more. So that you'll get out of it kind of whatever you ask for. Next up.
Identify this golf shot and tell me how to hit it.
It's a fried egg live for those who can't see the picture very well.
Looks good. Now turn that into a 2-minute script for my golf coaching YouTube series.
So in that case, what Kevin did, and I wish that we had the example. I don't know, Kevin, is there any way that you can rewind that just a little bit to show the prompt bar, or are we stop or go?
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah. So as you see here, yeah. Okay, perfect.
Identify this golf.
So you can see the paper clip down there in the bottom left-hand corner. We're all pretty familiar with that. For those of us who use email, don't be scared. He found this image probably on the internet somewhere. He uploaded, or maybe he even just copied and pasted that image into the prompt, into the chat prompt, and boom, that's how all that information was generated. So this is the part for me that was always a little bit scary. I was like, now wait a minute, he's the chief technology officer. This guy's brilliant. I'm golf pro. I'm pretty good at doing a whole bunch of other things that he's probably not as good at. But where can we meet, and how in the world can I use this? Well, he's like, hey, you dummy, you just copy and you paste, or you upload a document, or you attach a document. So it's so easy to use. You just have to not be afraid to give it a try. And like Kevin said, I think for me, it was, well, when do I use it? When do I not use it? Heck, just start using it all the time. And if you don't like the answers it gives you, talk to it a little bit, give it some suggestions, tell it what you think needs to be changed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but the next thing we could have done there is said, hey, cut that script down to a 1-minute golf video. and boom, it would have tightened it up for us and given us another example. So what's your next example that you've got queued up for us, Kevin?
Identify this golf shot and tell me.
Sorry, I went off script a little bit on you.
I'm a sales rep for Ping. Give me some tips on how to sell the G430 Max driver to a private club in Grand Rapids. So it's going off, pulling in a bunch of information off of the web to help give a good answer.
The thing to note here on the right-hand side, those aren't, in the Google world, things on the right look like ads. That's not what this is. What it's doing on the right-hand side is it's showing you all the different websites that it just researched. So it went and read all of those websites and is now pulling in that information in order to give you the answer on the left.
In 2 seconds.
Yeah, this is kind of basic stuff. Let's get real.
And then it took a deeper dive just like that. So let's kind of use an example that I always like to touch on here. I had Mr. Miller, he sent me an email. This has been a couple of months ago now, but he didn't like the club's quesadilla. And as the general manager, of course, that falls on me. I eat the quesadilla for lunch frequently. I love the quesadilla. I think it's fantastic. And it's a Sunday afternoon, and I saw this email come through, and it was kind of like, oh man, here I was about to call it a day. And now I feel the need to address this response. But being, having a bit of a sense of humor like I do, I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. I've got this ChatGPT thing here. I'm going to copy Mr. Miller's email into ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask it to provide a thoughtful response showing concern for his concerns about the menu item. And boom, it spits out a response to me. Now, here is the moment. This is where I caution everybody about using any AI tool, specifically those creating content. I didn't just copy the response and paste it. I made sure and read through the response, top to bottom. It took me another 30, 45 seconds. I saw a couple of things that maybe weren't exactly perfect, weren't stated the way I might have stated them. I prompted, again, let's tidy up this message just a little bit. But in the end, in about 2 minutes, it created this fantastic email response that would have probably taken me 45 minutes and a lot of stress and heartache trying to get it correct. So as not to be offensive, but as also to make my point. Once I had it formed, I pressed send, and it's maybe 10 minutes have elapsed in total since he sent the email. And what do you know? I get a response from Mr. Miller. Wow, so kind of you to respond on a Sunday afternoon. That's great. Really appreciate you acknowledging my concerns. Here are a few more thoughts. Well, of course, I couldn't let it end there. I have to copy that in and ask ChatGPT to provide me another response, which again, I go through the same process. Another 10 minutes goes by. If that, Mr. Miller has yet another response. He replies, wow, this is great. Thanks for seeing my concerns. And we came to a common ground. What probably would have taken, I'm going to say 2 or 3 hours, not nonstop in one block, but we addressed a concern, had a very thoughtful response. It was a non-emotional response because in the end, I really didn't write it. And he felt like his needs had been addressed and his concerns had been honored. And I felt like I did a half a day's work in a matter of just a few minutes. So there's one of my real world examples of how I am using ChatGPT for even the smallest little tasks to help make me and my business better and to get me, I guess make me more efficient. Would that be the right usage there, Kevin?
Yeah, Kelly, the other thing that's really cool about that is if you just think about like where does your emotional energy go in any given day, it allows you to step away from that a little bit, and you don't struggle with the blank page. It gives you something to get started and allows it to be a little bit more from a distance without consuming your emotional energy.
That's right. And I've used this example in the past as well. For me to be creative, there's like a block of time in my day when I can be most creative. And that's, I don't know, 3 to 3:45. And maybe that's a pretty short window, but hey, I'm just coming to terms with my reality. Okay. I'm not a morning person. If you need me at 7 in the morning, I'll be present, but I'm probably not going to be much. If you need me to really be thoughtful and find my prime time, it's that late afternoon time period for whatever reason. Well, the blank page effect that Kevin just addressed, this allows me to be creative outside of those normal times when I'm at my peak and at my best. So that's just another great usage and a way to take the emotion out of it and to make you better at all times of day, even when you might not have been at your best otherwise. Kevin, we've got to talk about, because I know this is what's on everybody's mind. Okay, yeah, that's great. They're just copying and pasting and maybe reading through a little bit, but plagiarism, right? It felt like, do we trust it? Should we use it? Am I stealing somebody else's information? I know you've got some guidelines at headquarters about how ChatGPT or how AI would be used. Take a little bit deeper dive into that if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I guess in the most technical sense, let's talk about copyright. So, for example, everything that you get out of these tools, and it doesn't matter if it's from ChatGPT or one of their competitors, you as a consumer have a license, so royalty-free license to use the words and the output from it, images, all that kind of thing. They generally disclaim and say that that's not copyrighted information, so safe to use, basically. There has been a concern about, because of the way that models are trained, that it might be giving you information that was like swiped from somebody else's. The short version of that is it's just generally not true. The other concerns are that when you put information into the system, that it is then taking your information and it will hand it to somebody else. Well, for the same reason that the previous item wasn't true, that's also not true. That's not how the systems work. You can think of it sort of like if you were to upload an item to a file to Dropbox, for example, you wouldn't think that, well, now Dropbox knows my information, they're going to like tell it to somebody else. The same is actually true for AI, but in the earlier days of it, it got kind of a bad reputation for being that way, unnecessarily. So it's relatively speaking, you're safe to transact with it and the information you provide and that kind of thing. Kelly, what I would advise and what we definitely do at PGA is we have pretty serious rules about you can't just take whatever it gave you and push it on forward. So just think of that in my world from a brand standpoint. If we have something that's going to answer someone's tweet and we just like automatically have it post a response onto Twitter, that is a total no-no. In the same way that you wouldn't like do that to Mr. Miller either, because first of all, he doesn't know that the computer was involved at any point. And you're not going to reveal that later. And certainly you're not going to say, well, I'm sorry that it like swore at you, but it was the computer, not me.
So then the pitfalls that you might point out to somebody when they first start using the tool, there are some common lines that maybe stick out, would you say, that we have to be aware of just so that it doesn't give away all the secrets?
In terms of like pitfalls, I think of it more in terms of places to be successful. So first of all, if you're going to use the results that you get out of something like ChatGPT to help your voice be better, then you have to put it into your actual voice. Again, that's just same thing I was saying earlier, that like you have to own it, you have to be responsible. The industry calls this having a human in the loop. So don't just take what it gives you and spit it forward. The other thing is that you can think of tools like this as really good at writing, but maybe not as good at thinking. And really generally bad at knowing what you know. So for example, if you know who your family members are, doesn't matter how smart ChatGPT is, it can't know that. So if you're going to do something that would require that type of knowledge, you have to provide it. So the way to make it succeed is to give it all of the context that any entity would need to be successful. That could include information about your employer. It could include information about you or a situation. For example, we have an internal tool that we use at PGA, and it generally knows what PGA of America is, and it's accumulated knowledge about all the PGA sections and that kind of thing. But we do actually give it some information and context. We do it behind the scenes, but you can just paste it in or type it in, and we describe like, hey, here's what PGA hope is, and here's how it fits in with reach, and here's how it is related to the 501c3 and the 501c6 and things like that it might not actually really know, but that kind of information is helpful as we use it for writing. So you have to give it all of the right context so it can succeed.
But am I correct that the more context you give it over time, it's going to learn and get smarter and rely on its own internal memory to help us as we develop the tool? Is that right?
That depends on which tool you use. ChatGPT is capable of remembering things into the future. But if you find, again, to the whole thing, like if it gives you something you don't like, tell it so. And if it starts to make something up, it's probably because it didn't realize what you wanted. So just tell it that and give it another shot.
Yeah, I saw a question come in. Should we have any feelings of being deceitful because it's not actually our thoughts? And Todd, I wrestled with that at first as well. I kind of felt like, well, this isn't really me. But that was also when I was using the tool, I was thinking, okay, I can tell it or ask it to do one thing for me and it provides a response. And then I would kind of read it through and then send it, right? But the more I use it, the more I realize that if I continue to interact with it, it becomes more like me. It's a little bit scary too. But it does feel like it's a lot more my thought. So if you're going to ping it once and take that information and go, yeah, it's probably not as much your information. But if you start to develop and ping it several times, then I think you'll find that it really does look a lot more like your thought. It is your thought. You've given it more guidance. So that's my feeling there. It doesn't do all my work for me. It just is alongside to help make my work better and more efficient. Kevin, you were talking about information and where it finds it. Is our simulator example built in here? Did you have that one maybe queued up next? I'm trying to remember our order here.
Yeah, I got one more before that.
Okay.
Keep rock and rolling.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm a sales rep for Ping. Give me some tips on how to sell the G430 Max driver at 2.
What's going on here?
I'm a sales rep for Ping. Give me some tips on how to sell.
We've already
Go to the next
driver.
Go to the next slide. Try this.
Do some web research on Augusta Ranch Golf Club, our programs, events, F&B, and everything. I'm in the middle of updating our website, and I need a really good FAQ page. Programs, events, F&B, everything I asked for. Yeah, that's fine, but this is kind of short, so keep going. I need a ton of FAQs. That's great. Now I can take all this, copy paste it into an AI phone system, select a voice, and then I will have this.
Hello, it's a perfect day at Augusta Ranch Golf Club. How can I help you?
Yeah, my buddy said you guys have a cool driving range. What's that all about?
Oh, it's super cool. Our driving range has top tracer technology, just like the pros use on TV. It tracks your shots, showing speed, distance, and more. You can play games like Closest to the Pin or virtual courses. Plus, it's lit for nighttime fun. Buckets are $10 small or $20 large, or you can rent a bay by the hour starting at $30. Bring your buddies and have a blast.
That sounds pretty cool. Can we eat there?
Absolutely. We've got the Scratch Pub and Grill right in the clubhouse. Delicious food, drinks, and a family-friendly vibe. They even host fun events like trivia and live music. Perfect spot to refuel after crushing it on the range.
Tell me a little bit more about the tunes and music and stuff. Fun things at night. I get out of work pretty late.
No worries, Night Owl. Scratch Pub and Grill often has live music and themed nights to keep the good vibes rolling. Plus, our driving range is lit for nighttime practice, and we even host night golf with glow-in-the-dark balls and illuminated fairways every other Saturday. It's a party on the course.
All right. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Thanks for your help.
All right, Kelly, now let's get to the demo you were talking about. So this is a PGA professional in Michigan, and he has a YouTube channel where he publishes videos that are wider than they all are tall. So landscape version videos. And it's basically him talking through a tip or a lesson. This particular one is 5 minutes long, and what the AI is going to do here, you just feed it that YouTube clip and say, like, I want you to cut it up into a different format for Instagram or TikTok, and it will change the aspect ratio. It will basically cut up the video and shorten it, so you just pick out highlighted parts, and so we end up with a curated, smaller clip that goes like this.
If I let my right arm work off my body instead of into my body, you'll see a path that's going to be far more left, and that's where we start seeing pulls and slices and a huge power and accuracy output loss. Arm comes off the body, path goes like this. Well left, dangerously left, and it forced me to hold the club face open, creating that big slicing pattern that a lot of players will see. If I let my right arm work off my body instead of in.
By the way, that was one example it gave. It actually made 8 or 9 different videos in about 3 minutes, I guess. That's just one that I picked.
And again, we've transitioned a little bit here from the Chat GPT into Opus Clip, Opus Pro. It's gone by a few different names there. Let's touch on something before we kind of open up and go in a whole bunch of different directions, Kevin. We've talked a lot about Chat GPT, but you would say that there are many tools or a top 2 or 3 tools out there just like it. Can you kind of touch on those for us, please?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not going to read through this list, but just so you know, you can take a picture of the screen or a screenshot, or use your phone, or write it down, or this will be in the material afterwards if you want to. But this is actually the curated list of great tools in each one of these different categories. And so, for example, we just used one right there. And so hopefully you can use these different kinds of things. There's a lot to explore here. And we didn't go into generating images. We didn't go into generating videos. And not much with voice or this kind of thing. There's some other like really practical stuff. Probably a lot of you have used Canva at some point. It's a really good tool. It's kind of the easy version, somewhere between PowerPoint and Photoshop. And like Canva now has a ton of AI tools to just make working with it a lot easier. We're seeing lots of existing things. So maybe you use Outlook or more corporate-y tools. Those are starting to have more AI features come into them. The important thing going forward is kind of like, if I had a sparring partner, thought partner sort of augmentation available to me, how would I want to use it? If you go with that mindset, you're going to find tools that are available and make these kind of things easier for your work.
Go back a slide if you don't mind, Kevin, since you're driving there for us a little bit. There's another one that I use all the time. As a matter of fact, I think it's running in the background right now. It's the Fireflies app. It's actually Adobe Firefly is different from the Fireflies app that I'm referencing. It's a meeting transcription service effectively. It will join all of your online meetings like this. You can also run it in an app form on an iPad or a phone while you're having an in-person meeting. It will identify who is speaking, when they're speaking, how long they speak. It will take great notes for you. It will even assign a to-do list and action items at the end of the meeting. You can choose to share that with everybody in the meeting, or you can keep it to yourself, and then you can disseminate the information as you see fit rather than including everyone in it. We've begun using it at the staff level in our management team meetings. And then that way it just helps us hold ourselves accountable, and it also helps us, golly, you might doze off and notice that icicles falling off the awning outside, and the next thing you know, you've missed something in the meeting. Well, you can look back at that meeting summary that is generated 100% for you, and it's at like a 95% success rate for me. It's pretty amazing. So that's another great tool that I would like to recommend, and I think that our PGA professionals across the country will find it quite helpful, frankly. You've got some more that you want to touch on, I think, Kevin. What else? You got Canva there. Any other in the image space?
Unfortunately, the current state of the art in image generation, well, while it is fantastic at generating incredible images, it's generally really bad at creating accurate golf images. It struggles with a lot of like sports, but it really hates golf. So these days you tend to get images with people who have golf, putters sticking out of their head, or 3 legs or something like that. So at this point, the image generators still have a little ways to go. They've gotten quite a lot better, but they are still imperfect. And of course, they're not going to do a great job at. They're going to create relatively generic images rather than specific images of your course, for example. We're getting closer to where you'll be able to just give it a few pictures of your course. It'll be able to extend and expand on those kinds of things. So stay tuned for more progress in image generation. The other thing, I don't know if anybody has any use for this, but the ability for, there's a few things down at the bottom here called Udio and Suno around music. If nothing else, for fun, it's an easy way to entertain a lot of people pretty quickly and for free. Go in there and just like punch in some made up song that you want. You will be shocked at how good it is at creating music in any style, any form, any length. Really amazing stuff there. And you can use that for kicking off a tournament, or if you have any ASCAP restrictions on licensing for public music and things like that. This is all royalty free. So neat stuff that can be done there.
We went through Opus Clip pretty quickly there, and that was the video editor. I always like to remind everybody we had something that we were creating here. I was doing the creation, frankly, and we called it the Greenbrier Minute. Well, to shoot a 1 minute to 2 minute video, edit it, and have it in a place where I felt comfortable sharing it with my membership, knowing the whole world was going to see it, including everyone who's not yet a member who might want to become one. It was taking me 3 to 4 hours to do that. And it got to the point where I said, oh gosh, this just isn't worth it for the time spent. Something like Opus can take that 3 and 4 hour task and turn it into probably 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then it will email you all of the options for you to choose the best option. Is that a pretty good summary on that, Kevin?
Yeah, for sure.
It also, as do a lot of the social media apps out there, or platforms, I guess I should say, it will provide context. It'll give you, golly, I can't spit the word out right now, but you have all the words are at the bottom of the screen for you to read and see as it goes. So it just really helps, again, make you a lot better content creator in a shorter period of time. So if you have a marketing director, if you have an assistant golf professional in your golf shop, somebody who's trying to figure out how to drive the junior golf market and get more signups into an event, or highlight a club championship, or potentially a ladies' day of some sort. Put them on these things, especially that younger generation will jump in and they'll find it really easy, where I find myself having to battle through it a little bit. But then in the end, I'm like, wow, what an incredible tool. How much easier does it get? What else do you have for us, Kevin, that you wanted to really recommend, or best practices?
Just to boil this down a little bit, I think one of the big takeaways is that you can use a lot of these things for free. So again, start on the top line between ChatGPT or any of the other ones that are there. Please just go play, experiment, see what it does and doesn't do, what you like and don't like. I suspect you will bump up against the free limits pretty quickly, and that's totally fine. These things cost like $20 a month. I suspect it will change the way that you work enough that you'll find the $20 very worth it. And again, there are different things that work in different ways there, but you can ignore most of the things on here. The basic call line is go buy the ChatGPT subscription. It's fantastic. In the bottom right corner, there's a list of different newsletters. So if you want to go deeper on a daily basis, grab sort of any one of these things. Some of them will teach you stuff. They'll talk about new releases, what's coming, what's the new state of the art. So if you really want to be up at the front and keeping tabs on the latest and greatest, you can subscribe to those kind of things. But you probably get plenty of email already, so maybe you don't want to do that.
Yeah, just I look at my previous 30 days, and I've got the honorary membership invitation email, the gym rules reminder email, the capital dues update, payment reminder assistance. We went from one platform to another here, and trying to get all of our membership and their automatic payment logins was brutal. Telling people that they're past due who aren't normally past due. ChatGPT was able to touch on that and write it delicately, where I probably wouldn't have been quite as, I wouldn't have been as delicate for sure. So it just, the list kind of goes on and on and on. Who has to write a disciplinary letter to a member about where they're driving their golf cart, or maybe something they said in earshot of others in the bar? Let this tool help you be efficient and effective and proficient and professional as well. Kevin, I see some more questions coming along here. Do you know if there's a curriculum requirement that is incorporated in the PGA associate levels for them to learn how to use any of this?
There's not today, but there probably should be.
And then there's a company, Tyler Vincent wrote, and I love this question because I've been dancing around this one too. There's a company called Coursive that will automate tee time booking with an AI-based concierge service that integrates directly into several of the major tee sheet providers. Not only is that a company, but there's a platform out there that recommends and teaches you a lot of different AI tools. What are your thoughts on that one, Kevin?
Yeah, Coursera. We actually talked to Dell yesterday. Coursera. So these are things that allow you to do more without having to spend your time on the phone, for example. And it'll help to basically do a similar demo to what we had shown earlier 20 minutes ago. They're all fantastic. It's the way these things are going to become very normal in our world, in our lives. So consumers will come to expect that they can just call up at 10:30 at night and talk to a thing and make tea time or get the answers to questions or something like that. People are going to be able to, going to expect that in their life, and they'll probably expect it from your facilities as well. Quick question on the ChatGPT free trial. I actually haven't kept tabs on all the different free trials and what they allow and what they don't allow. What you find is that if you hang out in the free tier, every couple of months it gets better. So they keep it used to be that the problem is the free tier didn't have the really smart model, but then they fixed that. Now I think they say you only get a certain number of messages and then it'll cut you off. So I don't think it's limited on time. I think it's limited on quantity of usage. But if you hit that, then pop over to Google Gemini and start using that. If you want to stay in the free zone, there's so many free things that you can use. And Claude, it's a fantastic extra, a third one. So between the three of them, you'll be golden if you want to stay in the free zone.
Yeah, I think it is based on the number of prompts, but I found that I wanted to keep that data and have it at my fingertips for a long time to come. That's why it suddenly became very much worth the money spent. I don't remember what we spend on ChatGPT, but it's worth every single penny of it, as hopefully I've convinced you. And I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not getting any money out of this. I'm just trying to make your lives easier. I'm trying to serve our PGA members and help you grow the game a little bit easier with that. So that's why I'm such a big fan. What other questions might we have? Or Kevin, anything we have kind of glossed over? You're driving the PowerPoint and I'm not. So
I'd like to open it up more to questions if you have some. Again, down at the bottom is the button. Matt just did a fantastic job demonstrating button usage. Raise that hand, Matt. What do you got?
I just wanted to mention, I thought one of the cooler comments from the breakout session at the PGA annual meeting was from a pro, I think up in the Buffalo area. He said they input like years worth of weather data into an AI system to help plan staffing levels for the year. And he said, you know, if he were to go through year by year, month by month in the weather data himself, that would take a week, but he did it in about, 5 minutes. So things like that I hadn't even considered, you could get a lot of use out of too.
It's a really good example of giving it context. So if you give it information in the form of a document or paste things in or an image or just start typing, all those data sets, it can make sense of really some pretty hairy and ugly and voluminous information and condense it down into something super helpful.
yeah, man, I used it with our annual membership satisfaction survey. And, you read the comments as they come in, but when you have all your comments in one huge document, and then you just ask it you upload the document and then you say, hey, summarize these for me. What are the top 2 or 3 or top 10 themes that come from this? It will take hours of reading, and again, the emotional response out of it, and really help you from that angle. Have you tried using AI for budget forecasting? I personally have not. I'm a little reluctant to put a lot of financial information out there, even though Kevin tells me that they're not going to share that information. Kevin, any more thoughts on the security of the information that we put out there? And should I be using it for budget forecasting?
I wouldn't hesitate because of the security aspect. I would hesitate because of the accuracy. So one of the inherent problems, we didn't really talk about this, it's gotten a little bit better, but in general, if you ask the AI to produce some information, it will confidently do so. Unfortunately, that means that it can sometimes confidently produce information that's not right. And it won't say, I'm really not sure about this particular number. It'll just write it in. Which again is a really good reason why you need to have a human in the loop on any kind of thing. So what I think you could use it for very easily is to help to create budget templates, to say, what are the kinds of things that I ought to be thinking in terms of forecasting. So it might be able to take a little bit of the labor off of your hands. In the last year, it's all gotten significantly better at doing math. The important thing is to make sure that it really has access to all the information that it needs in order to do that task. And at the end of the day, the answer to should you use it or not is go try. Yeah. And shove it in there, see what it does, tell it where it got it wrong, guide it to do something better, and see if you're happy with the results. If you hate it, you probably lost 20 minutes. If you don't hate it, you might have saved hours.
Yeah, and I'd say if you hate it, you just weren't prompting it correctly, because I think that you'll love it once you use it more and more and more. Back to that budget forecasting and spreadsheets. If you're pretty ordinary with spreadsheets like I am, it will really help you. It kind of dumbs it down, if you will. You tell it what you want the spreadsheet to do, and it will help do that. It just may not be able to say, go find cart revenues and increase those by 2% or cut a certain expense by 3%. It will struggle more in that space, but it will be able to take line items and write the equations for you and the prompts in the spreadsheet to make your life a whole lot easier in that regard. Any other questions? We got a couple of more minutes, right, Matt? I don't want to drag on, but I also want to make sure that everybody has a chance to raise a hand. Maybe it's time to get people to use those buttons. I want to see thumbs up from the people who are already using AI, and I want to see thumbs down from people who just haven't really tried it yet. I want to kind of see where we are. Okay, I'm seeing a little more of the thumbs up right now. There's a few.
Pretty mixed.
Yep, pretty mixed. Good stuff.
So good. We got some people with raised hands, and I'd also love to hear from anybody who's done something that like succeeded. Love to hear your story if something worked.
Yeah, the hands, I don't see the raised hands so much. So Matt, you may have to help us with that.
Yeah,
We got
Zach,
Zach.
go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So this past summer, I was doing a tournament, and I actually used ChatGPT to help me with the rules call. And, sometimes you're kind of reluctant to be like, did ChatGPT really pinpoint the correct penalty for this stroke or whatnot? But it brought me to the USGA link, and I got the correct rules number and call for the penalty. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Awesome.
It's a great example, and I think you did exactly the right thing by. Sometimes it'll cite its source, and sometimes it won't. So if it doesn't give you like, here's where I'm getting the information from, ask it. Say, hey, thanks for the answer, but like, tell me where you got that information, and so you can force it to do that even if it doesn't by default. So that's a great way to make sure that you're really getting the right answer and
Yeah,
fast.
put the chat in ChatGPT, right? Challenge it. Have a conversation with a computer. It seems a little bit odd, but that's really what you got to do. Kevin also asked in a previous session, and if there are more hands up, Matt, slow me down, okay? But Kevin asked what the PGA of America could be doing in this space to help you more. So this is the tip of the iceberg. This is AI 1.0. What does 2.0 look like, and how could we continue to develop our content to help make it better for other sections as we travel throughout the country this year? Come on, you all have opinions. This is the Philly section, by gosh. I mean, right up there with the Met. You all have got opinions. I know you do. Matt, I don't believe this. I absolutely don't believe this.
I know. Normally, our group isn't this quiet.
Wow.
My
Okay.
suggestion would be to make it free, since the PGA does pretty well with dollars and cents. If from a technology perspective, ChatGPT is only going to help the golf professionals promote the game, do those kinds of things, why are we being charged subscription? That being said, just in terms of some of the notes that I wrote during this conference, I think it's a great idea that we're trying to work smarter, not harder. A couple of my bullet points that I sort of brought up is, but in the grand scheme of things, if somebody can make a resume, who am I truly hiring? Am I just hiring somebody that has the best skill set to utilize AI? We're in an industry where we're dealing with people face to face. We can't really do it sometimes behind a computer unless we're, head golf professional, the manager, the behind the scenes kind of individual. You have front people and you have people that are behind the scenes kind of a thing. In the grand scheme of things, in 3 to 5 years, am I going to be talking to a person via the computer, or am I going to actually just be talking to somebody who's AI generated kind of a thing? And I do agree with your points that whatever you send, you own it, regardless of whether or not it was sent through an AI platform. So those are my sort of statements for the conference that we're currently having.
Yeah, I love that, Peter. And if I could expand for a moment, when we started this whole educational journey, I guess, there were fears, especially in the Kentucky section, from some of our marketing folks that say, "Hey, am I going to be eliminated? Like, is this gonna take my job?" No, the truth of the matter, in my opinion, is that the people who learn to use these tools will be more successful in their jobs, whereas the people who aren't using these tools will be left behind. And so we've got to stay on the forefront in that regard. I think the beauty of our business, and I'm sure that 99% of the people on this call fall somewhere in the GM to assistant golf pro realm, is that the computer cannot talk to the person standing in front of us in the same way and provide the same human interaction that we can. So if we use this tool properly, we're going to have more time to be behind the counter. We're going to have more time to greet members and guests on the first tee. We're going to have more time to give golf lessons and grow the game one-on-one, face-to-face. So that's kind of my summary on why I think we need to be using it. Can the information get a little, does it look a little template-ish at times? It can. That's where I really challenge our team. Hey, that's great, you used it. Now make sure it has your personal touch on the messaging. So those are some things that I recommend from my practical use.
Go ahead, Bart.
Yep. Hey, everyone. My name is Bart Rickard. I'm the product manager for Golf Genius Golf Shop. And we've been doing, we're actually working on a feature using AI that I think could be applicable even just outside golf shop. I know we went through a lot of different ways to use AI. One thing we're working on right now is having the ability, I know everybody in the golf shop has PDFs, right? They get order PDFs, confirmations, demos, and it's just stacking up in their shop. What we're doing is we're working on ways to be able to take that PDF, upload it to ChatGPT or any AI tool and extract that information and put it somewhere, where we were working on is we're working on taking that PDF information, say a stock order, pre-booked PDF of an order, and uploading it, extracting it, importing it into Golf Shop to store it. That's possible as well using Google Gemini, ChatGPT. You could basically take that PDF and you could upload that PDF to ChatGPT or Google Gemini and say, "Hey, can you just take this? This is an order PDF from, say, a Cushionet. Can you just summarize this into a more concise order, into a Word document here?" Or I know a lot of you probably use Excel maybe to manage a lot of your pre-booked stock orders and anything else where you think, but you could say, "Hey, take this order PDF and import this information into this Excel spreadsheet." Maybe you have some type of open to buy planning where you try to import the information. You're probably manually entering it. You can take that order information from that PDF, extract it, and import it into any file you want if you use the right prompts. It takes some testing to get used to it, but thought it'd be useful because I know everybody in the golf shop has these PDFs. Are like, where am I going to store this stuff? Or I need to move it to a different file, to Excel, or to vice versa. ChatGPT, Google Gemini, that can help you out.
That's great.
Kelly, I was just going to quick comment. Ian posted something about like it might not replace our jobs entirely, but could it devalue our jobs? Part of the reason for doing sessions like this is to give you eyes wide open to understand what is out there today and what is coming. I mentioned at the top of the call, like as science fiction as this sounds, like we're going to see robots start walking around, and there's probably some point where that robot is going to be able to. Well, you already got like different types of robots that can mow the fairways, and we have one at PGA Frisco that picks the range for us. All of those types of things, and the more that it can write a job description for you so you don't have to, that should allow you to be out with your customers. And in the golf business, that's really more where it's at, unless you happen to be the one PGA golf professional who got into the business because they wanted to write job descriptions. Most of us want to be out interacting with their customers and building a business and growing that and creating those relationships. So I think, Ian, to your question, if it folds socks and restocks the shelves and helps to plan out pairings and a tournament and all that kind of thing. That's all time that allows you to go be with your family or with your customers.
And the teaching club fitting piece of it, I think it's going to help us fit people faster. I mean, who's been on the lesson tee with a person who doesn't know which driver they want? And I believe those tools are going to exist to be able to kick some options out immediately or a lot faster, or to help identify what shaft a person needs to be in based on the way they're swinging, loading the club. Again, it's going to become a model of efficiency to give you more time to be better at other things, and to get that to get that customer turned around faster and maybe have the product in their hand quicker.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a mode where people start to switch from, like, if your radiologist were to tell you, like, don't worry, I didn't cheat by using a computer when I read your your report. Like, hell no, who wants that? Like, I want you to use every bit of technology to make sure that thing is as accurate as it possibly can be. And I think that consumers will shift more towards that mindset of people, they will want and expect the very best from everybody, including this type of augmentation.
Yeah, I'll use one more example with TrackMan. We have 4 golf simulators here on property, and there's Tracy that helps you identify whether your ball flight and what your golf club is doing, and kind of compares you against a scratch player and a professional. Well, the reality is that it can tell you where you're deficient, but it can't tell you how to improve where you're deficient. It can maybe just say that the ball needs to go higher or lower, but it can't tell you how to make the ball go higher or lower. And so that prompts questions in my bays where all of a sudden a member is going, wait a minute, hey, pro, I saw this over here. It says my trajectory is too low. Next thing I know, there's a lesson lead right there. I can help you with that, Mr. John Doe. Let's get on my calendar. We'll spend 45 minutes in here. I've collected a lesson fee, and that member has used AI to kind of generate the lead for me in that case. So I'm just not afraid of it. I'm all for it. I think we just have to embrace it. Jonathan, another question? You're on mute, Jonathan.
Sorry. No, just a statement along the same lines. And I think, we talk about working smarter, not harder, right? But keep in mind too that on the other side of this, our customers, all of the golfers that we serve, I travel throughout the Northeast with Golf Genius. I talk to golf professionals in 6 different states. Our customers are experiencing this in all of the other facets of their lives. And so they're probably comfortable with, and they will come to accept the fact that you are using something like AI, ChatGPT, automated communications, to make up for the fact that maybe you're a little light in staff, or that you haven't seen an increase in staff that's commensurate with the increase in rounds you're putting out. So all of those things, all of these solutions that are out there, they're being used by every company and every other facet of your customers' lives. They're going to be okay with them being used in this realm as well.
And never mind the fact that you can talk with your customers about how you're using it. And I promise you're going to wander into some people who are going to say, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that. I need to add it to my business. Or B, you know what? That golf professional is really smart, and I'm glad they're working on our team. I'm glad they're at this facility because they're obviously a thought leader, and cutting edge. We all want to be cutting edge.
You don't want them to say C, which is, oh my God, why aren't you using it?
Right.
Why aren't you using this to solve that problem?
Couldn't agree more.
Well, we've gone over our time limit. I'd say we maybe wrap it up here. For what it's worth, this is a very skim the surface, top level, and we really want to talk mostly about ChatGPT, and these are kind of the tip of the iceberg for things that are happening in this space. I'd be more than happy to continue the conversation with any of you if you're interested. I put my information in the chat. Kelly put his in there. Please let us know, like, what works for you. If you have a bad experience and like things don't make sense, let us know that too. We really want to help you specifically and all of your peers around the entire association to be eyes wide open, smart, and anticipate all the things that are coming here so that you can be the best for your careers, for your customers.
Yeah, great. And I'll just kind of close with saying that my email address is there in the chat as well. My goal in life is to help others. I mean, I absolutely love what I do. I love helping other PGA members. Somebody was out there who helped me along at one point, and you all are going to make me smarter when you challenge me. So please email me. Kevin's way smarter than I am. I'm not going to hide behind that. He's way smarter than I am at this stuff, but I'm using it in a way that you're probably going to use it day in and day out. So from a practicality standpoint, there might be some more knowledge that I could share with you in some way, or if you're hung up or you're scared, please, my door's open. I love hearing from other golf professionals. And if you're ever passing through Kentucky, look me up.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It was wonderful.
Awesome.
All right,
Thanks,
see you
Matt.
later. Thank you.
Thank you.